just gonna.
All right there. Hi there. I'm Alice, and this is the Future of Fitness podcast. And today I'm here with Caroline, who is from Rebalance with Reiki.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we're going to have a chat today about how important Reiki is in kind of bringing it into your everyday life and into your sense of wellness and well-being. So yeah, let's just get started, I reckon. How are you today anyway? Are you well?
Yes, I am. I'm good, thank you. I am. Yeah, I'm down in my Reiki studio, so
Amazing.
I have my own space, which is lovely. It's kind of where I come to see clients, but I also come down and do my own Reiki practice down here as well, which is really nice. Um,
Beautiful.
but yeah, so
Beautiful.
I'm a Reiki master, but I'm also qualified in crystal healing, which works with the chakras, and aromatherapy, advanced aromatherapy as well, which is using essential oils to also work with the body's energy, to kind of heal as well. So, um, yeah, I have quite a few tools that all work
Yeah.
around basically the body's energy system.
Amazing. And I guess the first question was going to ask you is, what was your life like before Reiki, before you found Reiki and you kind of infused it into your life?
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like I should always have had it. It's like when I first discovered it, when I first got attuned to it, it felt like something that had always been there. But
Mm,
I think my life before Reiki was probably very chaotic. I was a mum to three young children. I was just flailing around all over the place. I had so little energy. And
mm,
I probably wasn't really very in tune with myself either. I was just sort of surviving, I think would probably be the right word, just sort of, um, you know, doing what I could in order to sort of, service everybody else's needs. And I think probably didn't really even realize that I needed to tune in a lot to what was happening for me as well.
yeah.
And I think Reiki has definitely brought with it more of a definite connection back to myself, a definite connection back to my energy, um, a definite sort of yeah. I would say it's a certain, yeah. It kind of makes you, or has a way of bringing you back to center, I would say.
Mm. And I bet, do you think that like before it infused into your life, you couldn't have imagined like still being a mother of three children and not feeling chaotic all the time? Like, has it shown you a different way of living and being able to embrace motherhood and the fullness of life alongside, like you said, staying connected to your center? And how does it do that then, do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, because I think when you become more aware of yourself and how you're feeling, and I think when you are able to have tools and practices that you put into place to keep you more calm and centered, it kind of naturally just then radiates out.
Mm,
Because whereas maybe I would have flared up before, I think having the Reiki practice and trying to live in the Reiki way definitely calmed me down, which then allowed me to be a much calmer mum. And the kids
mm,
even say, they're all, I mean, I've been using Reiki with them for over 10 years now. But even they were like,
amazing.
say, it definitely calmed you down, mum. It's definitely noticeable that, having Reiki kind of in our lives, and they've grown up with it as well. So I've used
Yeah,
Reiki on them. They ask me for it now when they're, for lots and lots of different things. So
yeah,
um, it's really made a huge difference, not only to me, but to them as well. So
yeah. And I imagine like a lot of women think that they put themselves at the bottom of the pile in
yeah,
terms of their needs and stuff. And actually, it sounds to me like it's that like one of the most important things is that you're taken care of because, like you said, you're radiating out into your house and setting the tone
yeah.
for how everyone else feels as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't walk around in a Zen state the
Yeah.
whole time. I think that would be really unrealistic to think, that we could all be like that. But I
Mm,
do think because if I just explain a little bit about how, like, so there's three levels to Reiki effectively. So if you want to use it, you could just go for a Reiki treatment, which is lovely. You will find a practitioner and you could just go and have Reiki on yourself, which is lovely. But you can then do the three levels of Reiki. So Reiki 1, which basically you are then attuned to be able to channel Reiki for yourself. And that's when you can use it on yourself and you can use it on your family. So,
mm,
and then you can go to level 2, which then allows you to be a practitioner, kind of puts you a bit further along the Reiki journey. And then Reiki Master Teacher is sort of the top level. And you don't have to learn how to be a teacher, which allows you to teach it to other people. You could just be a Reiki master. And
yeah.
basically, that's effectively, it's an ongoing journey with Reiki because you're always learning about it. So I think,
Yeah.
it's it's a principle and a way of living. And I think I try and bring Reiki into my life every single day, like with
Mm,
everything, because you can bring it into so many things. And I think just by having that constant sort of circling back to center is kind of how I would describe it. It just allows you to be able to, like, maybe not be so hard on yourself if you've not had a great day with the children,
mm,
and also be aware that there are maybe things going on for you that you need to kind of address so that you can help yourself to kind of get back into that slightly calmer state, or give yourself what you need as well on an energetic level.
yeah. And so, how would you describe Reiki then for somebody who's never
Never had a
never
Reiki
experienced
before.
it?
Oh, it's really hard because I always say to people, you need to come and experience it because it's so different for everybody. But I would, when I first had my first Reiki treatment, I really didn't know what to expect because I didn't know what it was going to feel like. But it was such a calming experience, and
Mm,
I could feel things kind of happening through my body. I could feel this immediate energy happening. There was a massive shift to things that had, like, I'd not felt like anything like that before.
mm,
And afterwards, I could feel so many things just releasing. Like, it was almost like a weight, things. I could just feel things just shifting, even if
mm,
I didn't know what exactly that was. And I was so fascinated by it because I was like, wow, I've never had anything like this before. I don't know what's really going on, but I'm just going to trust that it's doing something. Um,
mm,
and then I really wanted to learn how to do it myself so that I could then practice it on me.
yeah. So, what's a person doing when they're doing a session? What effect are they having on the
So
body?
so when you're channeling Reiki, you're calling in universal life force energy, which is what Reiki is. And the person that you are doing the Reiki on is drawing that in for whatever they need. So it
Mm,
goes where it's needed. So, and it's a holistic treatment. So it will work on all levels. So, it could be working with something that's a physical um, issue for someone, or emotional as well, or spiritual. So the person who is receiving the Reiki is basically in such a nice deep state of relaxation that their body's natural healing ability is activated. And it works with the body's energy system, so the chakras. So people who kind of are familiar, or do yoga, or understand about how the body's energy systems work,
yeah.
Reiki works with those chakras as well. So um, unblocking and releasing things that might be stored or stuck there, because we all
Mm,
hold and carry things in our bodies. We just do. And they tend to manifest in different ways. So when someone comes for Reiki, it depends what's going on for them as to how perhaps they might receive the Reiki, or what will happen for them during the treatment, because it's going to be a very person, and it could just be whatever might have happened on that day, or it could be things that they're dealing with from past issues, or
mm,
things that have gone on for them. That's why it's so fascinating. That's why I love it, because it really gets to the root issue of what's going on for the person.
yeah. And can you tell? like what can you feel sensations in your hands, or are you working intuitively? Can you feel what's
Kind of
happening for you?
kind of happens a bit both. um, it's sort of like sometimes I can really feel or sense where something might be going on for somebody. Sometimes when you're working with your hands over a certain part or a certain chakra, like my hands will go all hot and tingly, or I can really feel the Reiki being drawn, or and sometimes the person can feel it as well. Like, when we
Mm,
talk afterwards and they'll be like, oh, I could really feel your hands here, or there was heat, or there was tingling, or there was that sort of thing. So yeah, it's kind of, for me, it's a combination of just, I can feel it as a physical sensation, but sometimes I can sense it as well, or I can see where something needs work, or I need to put my hands on that part just because that's where Reiki needs to go. So it's kind of a
mm.
mixture of both, really.
And do you, because I was attuned to Reiki, but like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And so I
Yeah.
do a little bit, but haven't done any kind of with all the symbols and stuff. So do you think that over time, like your energy with Reiki builds, so you kind of get stronger at working with it, and if you don't use it, it just kind of, or do you think it's always there with somebody once they're attuned?
Once you're attuned, you will always have it.
Okay.
It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you will feel it, the more you will get to feel your own personal relationship with it. um
Yeah.
I know so many people who are attuned to Reiki and then they've never used it ever again, which is such a shame, because it's such an amazing thing to have.
Yeah.
And you can use it for so many things, but I think people just don't really know maybe how they can use it sometimes. Do you know what I mean? They have this
Yeah.
ability to be able to channel this lovely energy, but they're not sure if they can do it for this or they could do it for that. And like, you can do it for so many things. So
Yeah.
but it's like a practice. It's like like when you um meditate, it's like it's a practice. It becomes easier the more that you do it, and it's the same with the
Yeah.
Reiki as well. And then just going up the different levels, it just means that your frequency just gets dialed up a bit more. So
Ah, okay.
yeah,
Mm,
so you'll always be able to channel Reiki in whatever level that you're at. But the
mm,
more that you go through the Reiki journey and the more that you travel up the different levels of it, the more it's almost like you dial up a bit, and
mm.
your own personal relationship with it grows as well. So you
Yeah.
become used to how it feels. Like, for example, I know some people or some other Reiki people who will see colors. They might not necessarily feel anything in their hands. The way that they connecting with it and how they use it is very different to how it works for me. So I
Mm,
think it's about building your own personal relationship with it, seeing how it works for you. Like, what are the tell signs, for example, if you were doing it on someone else? Is it that your hands do get hot, or do you get
hmm.
pins and needles, or do you just get a sense of, oh, I know I need to put my hands here? It's a
Yeah.
very personal thing. It's a very personal relationship with it.
Maybe trusting yourself and your kind of instincts. Because
Yes.
yeah.
And I think that just comes the more that you use it, because you
Mm,
start to realize that, oh, whatever this is that I'm feeling, or whatever it is that this is happening here, is like a little, yeah, it's like an intuitive hit. It's kind of like telling you something. But
yeah.
you might miss that, because if you might not realize that that's what it is when you first start doing it, because you
Yeah.
haven't kind of got your relationship with it established just yet.
How do you incorporate Reiki into your everyday life?
So I do Reiki on myself every day. So I will
Amazing.
either do that. Um, I'll either do it first thing when I wake up. So like, I'll have 5 minutes when that alarm button goes off, and I will literally just put hands on my body like this, and I'll just lie there and
Mm,
activate Reiki, and I'll just give myself 5 minutes in the morning. If I want to do something a little bit more involved, I'll incorporate it in with meditation. So I
yeah.
will. I will sit with either a guided meditation or some music or something, and I will just let Reiki flow, and then I will do all the hand positions and kind of do it proper full on.
Mm.
Last week, my daughter had some teeth extracted, so I basically sat with her in the room with my hands on her, giving her Reiki
Mm.
to keep her calm. So kind of was using it for her.
Yeah.
My daughter was at uni. She's at uni and she was having a really stressful, anxious day, and she asked me to send Reiki to her. So I just sent her some Reiki that afternoon to kind of help
Yeah.
calm her down. Um, Today, my husband's pulled a muscle in his back, so I've given him some Reiki for that, and I've also Reiki'd the hot water bottle,
Yes.
so that he can then have, the hot water bottle on his back. So yeah, you can Reiki food, you can Reiki your car, you can Reiki your house protection, you can use it on all of your family members for various different bits and pieces and things. I used to give my kids a Reiki cuddle when they were little.
Oh,
So like we would watch TV, or at bedtime when I was
yeah.
reading a story, like I would activate Reiki. I wouldn't necessarily sort of do it in a formal, here we go,
Yeah.
here's my hands on your body. It was like I would activate it and they would just be receiving it. So there's,
Amazing.
yeah, loads of different ways that you can use it in everything that you do every single day.
And do you think it's a lot more simple in some ways than people think, right? Because we're made to think that healing and energy healing is something that's inaccessible and kind of so out there, and you know, to get better, people can make things seem quite difficult, right? This pharmaceutical industry and all that type of stuff. And actually, it sounds like what you're saying is it's much more accessible and powerful than you think.
Yes, and it really, really is, and I wish people would just sort of realise that actually there's all these different accessible tools that they can use every single day to not only help themselves but other people in their family as well. And it doesn't have to be a complicated, full on, sort of overwhelming thing to be doing. It's just about bringing in the small. Well, I think that's holistic health generally. It's about bringing in the small, simple steps that you just repeat consistently that allow you to keep yourself well, you know.
Mm,
And the more that you can try and bring it into a sort of almost like a habit that you do, um, and you can bring it into a daily habit and not make it difficult, you suddenly
mm.
just realize that you're doing it without even thinking about it.
Yes, I've often found like myself waking up with my hands on my body.
Yeah,
Have
well,
you ever?
and
Do you have that?
some people, yeah, and sometimes, and I've given Reiki in my sleep as well. So I've obviously been having a dream, and then I've woken up, and
Wow,
my hands have been like I've like this. So I've obviously been dreaming about something or somebody or something. Yeah, I
wow.
think it's yeah, it's a very, what's so lovely about it is it's so simple. You don't need a ton of things to be doing. You literally can just put your hands on yourself like this and call your Reiki in, and it will
Mm,
start flowing. It's that
yeah,
simple. And you can do it in a traffic jam. You can do it when your cup of tea, you're making your cup of tea in the morning. You can do it,
yeah.
whilst you're standing in line waiting for something. It's nobody's going to know what you're doing, because unless you don't. Yes, there are symbols you can work with in level 2, but in terms of how simple it is, it's literally put your hands on your body or put your hands on someone and activate it.
Yes, because that's what I often do now. Is I don't do the symbols. I just kind of have intention and think about activating healing
Yeah,
energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
Ah,
you don't need to go up to the second level and use all of the symbols unless you really want to. Intention is 100% the key. If you're intending it to flow, if you're intending it to be working for the greatest and highest good of whatever it is that you're using it for, then that's hugely important and key as well.
mm. So where does Reiki come from? Because it's quite a interesting name, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's an ancient Japanese healing technique. So it was discovered by Dr. Mikao Usui. That's the Reiki lineage that I have. I know there are
Mm,
certain other energy healing as well that have sort of origins from other places. But Reiki itself was discovered by him
Mm.
several hundred years ago. He was a monk, and obviously a very spiritual person. And
Mm.
the story goes that he traveled to the top of the mountain where he had a bit of sort of like a epiphany, and he passed out. And when he woke up, he realized that he had something has had happened to him, and he was able to
Mm.
sort of channel this universal life force energy to heal. Um, and there's lots of different versions of the story. And I read one where it said he, on his way back down again, he stumbled and fell and hurt his foot, and he put his hand on his ankle, and he realized that he was actually sending some healing to his foot. So, and then
Mm.
he went on then to start to teach it to other people, so that effectively he attuned them, um,
Yeah.
so that they were then able to then go out and use Reiki on, on others. So, in its most literal sense, Reiki means universal life force energy.
Amazing. Yeah, so because I think with the name of it, sometimes people don't understand what it is, but the way you explain it is just universal life force energy. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other big misconception that people have is that the person who's doing the Reiki is the healer.
Yeah.
You're a conduit. You have the ability to tune it. So you call it in and you tune it through your hands. And the person receiving the Reiki is the person who's drawing that healing in, you have been attuned to channel it through properly,
Mm.
so that because there's a whole process around how you get attuned for Reiki, which is a very sacred ritual. And I always think with things like this, you have to be respectful of it. It's
Mm.
something that is immensely powerful, and it's a system and it's a way of being. And I think it's just about understanding how amazing it is, and just being respectful of it, I think.
Yeah. And that's forgotten quite a lot, I think, in everyday today's society. I think that kind of being grateful and taking care of the sacred things. It's yeah, amazing. And can you tell me more about distant Reiki?
Yeah. So so when you are attuned to the level 2, you
Mm.
learn a symbol that allows you to send Reiki over distance through time and space, effectively, is how they describe it. So you can send Reiki backwards in time, and you can send Reiki forwards in time. And it works on the basis
Okay.
that we are all energy. We're all energy. So the intention that you are sending it and the fact that you are channeling it allows it to reach where it needs to, wherever somebody might be in the
Yeah.
world. So I've had clients and people that I have had in other countries, or even in different parts of this country. And it just allows you to be able to give Reiki without the person physically being in the room with you.
Yeah.
So you're still doing all the things, you set all the intentions, and you're channeling it in the same way. But instead of the physical presence of the person in front of you, you're able to do it, and they can receive it wherever they are.
I guess there's quite a lot of people that find it hard to understand how you could do that because it is much more intelligent than our brains, I guess.
Yes.
Universal life force energy is much bigger than our brains can comprehend.
Yeah, but then if you think about it, who would have thought that you could be on the end of a phone like this talking, and someone on the other end in another country can hear you? And you don't
Yes.
see that link happening between that person in order for them to be able to hear the voice on the other end of the phone. You
Yeah.
just know that you speak here and it's received there.
Through experience. So I guess with distance Reiki, a lot of it will come through the experience of having had it and feeling it and be like, oh yeah, this works. But
And people do feel it as well. I mean, that's what's incredible about it.
yeah.
The person who's in wherever they are, can actually physically feel things as well,
Yeah.
sort of whilst they're um, not even there with you, but they can feel things happening in their bodies, or they can you can describe that you maybe were working on X, Y, and Z, and they'll be like, oh yeah, but I could actually feel that, or I could feel these
Yeah.
things happening. And I also think it's very, I love it, because I think it, because the person is not there, that almost physical barrier of the conscious is removed as well. So
Mm.
somebody who's comfortable in their own environment is much more relaxed and probably more open, and you can kind of, it's the experience is deeper, I would say, because
Yeah.
there's not that physical person's sort of their conscious barrier there. They're probably more in their subconscious because they're a bit more relaxed.
Yeah. Do you use crystals, don't you, as well? You
Yes.
mentioned. How do you use the crystals?
So, so with the crystal healing, that's just about working with the specific crystals for each chakra. So, crystals again work on an energetic level. So they all carry their own energy, and they all relate to different chakra parts of the body, which in turn relate to physical body parts and emotional body parts
Mm.
too. So when I do a crystal healing, I have these lovely flat disc crystals that are relevant to each chakra. So, for example, um, there's rose quartz for the heart chakra, because that's a crystal that's related to that. And I just
Mm.
place the crystals on the chakra points of the person, and also then use Reiki as well. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
You've got the energy of the crystals working on things that might be going on in that chakra, and you've also got lovely Reiki energy as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and you can use, sometimes if I'm even doing a Reiki session and I get a particular feeling that maybe this crystal's needed for this person because there's something going on for them in that sort of space, then I'll sometimes bring that in with my work as well. And
Mm.
and crystals, you can use crystals because it's all energy. So for example, amethyst, which is a really lovely calming crystal, if anybody's working with anxiety or feeling stressed or whatever, I suggest sometimes that they kind of get hold of some amethyst and work with that to try and help them
Mm.
with those kinds of feelings, as well as sort of other things that they can be thinking about in order to try and help manage that for them.
I guess with crystals is we're so, not all of us, but a lot of us are so disconnected from nature
Yeah.
and the healing powerful benefits of it that it's hard to comprehend how a crystal could help. But then at the same time, we're made from this earth. We come from this earth.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we respond, I guess?
And so do they. Chris, they're formed and they're part of this earth, and you just need to be careful that you find some that are ethically sourced and that are properly, there's a lot of fake crystals out there. So
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
that's probably quite important to say. But yeah, I mean, I think the problem, or not necessarily the problem, but we're so disconnected now from
Mm.
so many things that perhaps our ancestors were so much more in tune with. They were
Mm.
outside a lot more than we are now. Their hands were physically in the dirt a lot more than, that the whole grounding, the whole connecting, the whole living with the seasons, being aware
Mm.
of how your
Hmm.
energy fluctuates as well with the different times of the year, and
Yeah.
flowing with it rather than trying to be pushing against what you're naturally feeling in your body. I think
Mm.
we become, we're disconnected and unaware because we don't realize that actually all of this makes such a big difference to our own energy. And
Yeah.
it's so important to look after your energy. It really, really is, because it
Mm.
impacts you in so many ways, whether you realize it or not.
It sounds like the more you've infused Reiki into your life, it's a daily, it's just a lifestyle for you. It must have then brought you more back in touch with with
Yeah.
nature and how your ancestors be, because that's your true identity, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it just makes so much sense. Why wouldn't we? be looking at this time of the year now, for example, where the days are darker and you
Mm.
feel a lot more tireder and actually you want to slow down. And that's what our ancestors did. They knew when to harvest the food. They would be making all of these things to last them through the winter. They would be getting ready effectively to slow down and hibernate and look after themselves because,
Yeah.
it's getting dark and cold, and and we have the same, we've got the same feelings. We just live in a modern society that kind of tells us that we need to constantly be busy the whole time and constantly doing this and constantly doing that, and
Yeah.
drive and strive forward and push through that feeling of actually, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit burnt out. No, 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 it's fine. Do you know what? We're all busy, blah, 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 blah. And I think,
Yeah.
um, I definitely think Reiki has definitely made me so much more aware of
Mm.
natural energetic cycles, including like the
Mm.
moon as well, because again,
Yeah.
and especially as women, I think we're very impacted by the moon. We have our own cycles. Therefore, every month we have a different energy running through us, depending on where we're at with our cycle as well.
Mm.
And again, I think we become so disconnected from that too, because, actually there is a time to rest for us because our body's
Mm.
going, I just need you to rest at the moment, not push through and try and crack on. So I think this whole awareness of just, not only my own energy, but the energy that's going on around as well has definitely become more heightened and probably more connected.
Mm. And like it makes sense to live like
Yeah,
this.
it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always saying to people, well, slow down. You're not meant to be going at 100 miles an hour now.
Yeah.
That's not the time of year to be doing that. It's
Yeah, it's weird because it seems like people slow down in summer, which for me seems like that would be the time when people should be really getting going. And then they seem to kind of be so busy at Christmas.
yes,
And for me, that feels like that should be the time. I'm definitely trying to, so like you, I'm a business, self-employed business, and I am slowly trying to make my business more cyclical.
yeah,
It's harder though to explain it to people or kind of what you're doing because it can seem like, the not that you're being a wimp, but you're not being a functional, like efficient business if you just say, I'm actually not going to work that much now. And then I'm going to, that's for me, the fear is that how I'll come across.
yes. And I think society also has. Um, it's almost like we see rest as lazy,
Mm.
and I think that's so wrong because rest is so crucial to actually be able to function properly. And actually, one, if you don't rest and things are going on for you, your body will normally start to tell you or will put you into a position where you have to rest. Either you become ill or something physical manifests that puts you out of action, and your body's
Mm.
like, you have to stop now. But I think we're constantly battling the whole feeling of feeling guilty because we are resting. And I think
Yeah.
actually, again, if you go back to the cycles of nature and how it worked and what our ancestors were all doing, they were flowing with those seasons in order to be more productive, planting the seeds in
Yeah.
spring and Easter, harvesting, like growing and sort of the crops and things over the summer, and then harvesting them again ready for winter to kind of go back into that sort of slow hibernation period. So they were flowing with, the natural cycles, and we're so disconnected that we've forgotten that we have to do that as well.
Yeah. And we're like not just a business or a robot, we're a human that um when you're a small business, you can often feel like the business comes first all the time. And now I have to remind myself that actually I do have a business, but I'm also, before that, I'm a person that is living a life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if my business is thriving all the time. It's okay if it's quieter. It's not all going to fall apart, but I think there's a little bit of subliminal programming that if we're not on it all the time, everything will fall apart. And if we're not at the top of our business, we're failing.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a lot of pressure to be, you know, you can't just be a Reiki practitioner. You've got to be the top of the game. You've got to be the
Yeah.
top of the top. Well, maybe not Reiki, but I'm, all areas of business. And I think we forget that actually we are having bigger impacts than we think we are because, for example, I know I've helped lots of people, and they've told me that, and I can see it. And I've worked with clients and I can see how they've transformed from where they were when they first came to kind of where they are now. Am I raking in millions? No, I'm not. But have I massively impacted somebody's life in that way? Yes, I have. So it's about the
Mm.
measure as well that you put on yourself and society puts on you as to what you consider to be successful as well, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but it's very easy to get caught up in it all. And I think, it's again, I suppose if you think about yourself and you think about how you work and what works for you, you will have a very productive parts and months of your business life, and then there'll be quieter ones, and that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and I think again, it's just about being aware and in tune with that, and flowing with it, so that you're not beating yourself up when
And
when
sometimes I think it's a gift from the universe saying, you
yeah.
can take a little rest now. It's going to
Have
get
a break.
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know what? I'm not putting clients through your door this week because actually you just need to have a bit of a quieter week, or,
Yeah.
actually your energy and focus and attention needs to be here, not here. And I
Yeah.
think as you become, I don't know, I'm not, we can all get it wrong. We all make mistakes. We're all human, like you said before, none of
Mm.
us are operating, or none of us are smashing it. We're not, even if we all, we look at people and we think, gosh, that person seems to be killing it, and why am I stuck here and I'm this, that, and all the rest of it. But I think, we're at the end of the day, we are all doing the best we can.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think, we can beat ourselves up and we can criticize, and and that brings your energy down. How you speak to yourself as well has
Yes.
a huge impact on your energy. If you're constantly sort of talking negatively to yourself, or thinking, oh, I'm just not good enough, or everyone else is doing it so much better than I am, that energy is being absorbed into your body.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that we should be high vibing the whole time, because that's not realistic either. But I
Yeah.
think when you are more in tune and aware of how you are operating as a person and how your personal energy is, it just allows you to be a bit more compassionate and a bit more able to go, okay, I've had a bit of this has been a bit of a low point for me. Now I need to start taking some steps to do something about it. Or I need to wallow in it and feel it and allow it and move through it. Or actually, I can't do this by myself. I need to go and get some help, you
Yeah.
know.
So if people are to would like to work with you,
Yeah.
what's the best ways of what are the ways they could work with you, and how can they, connect with you?
Yeah. So I like to just look at the whole picture of a person. So when you come to me for Reiki, yeah, we will do a Reiki session, but we will also be talking about other things that are going on and what we can maybe do to sort of bring in some small steps to kind of help you manage whatever it is that's happening for you, so that it's not just
Mm.
like a one and done. It's like,
Hmm.
here are some things that you can practically take away. So there's the pure Reiki, which would just be a Reiki session. You can come for a crystal healing, which brings in, the sort of superpowers of the crystals to kind of help target a bit more specifically the things that might be going on.
Hmm.
And obviously, there's the aromatherapy, which is the essential oils, which I haven't really spoken much about, but essentially they all have their own energetic qualities as well.
Yeah.
And we'll have a consultation, and I will bespoke blend something that you particularly need, and then it's through massage that the oils are then kind of will
Amazing.
be kind of absorbed into the body, and then you take
Mm.
away a little bottle with you to kind of, that you can, that's the one that I've made up for the specific thing that's going on. So
So you
yeah.
do aromatherapy massage as well?
Yes, so
Yeah. Oh,
basically
amazing. Yeah.
the oils are, it's through massage that the oils, like the whole healing and the whole oils and what they do are kind of incorporated into the whole treatment.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you get a lovely massage with all of the
Oh,
lovely aromatherapy oils.
I might have to get in touch with you about that.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely treatment, and it's nice because it's bespoke for you. So, you know, we'll be looking at what different oils can help for whatever it is that you've kind of got going on for you. So,
Yeah.
and the way that people can get in contact with me, I've got a website, which is www.rebalancewithreiki.co.uk. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well, so you can find me on there. And I talk a lot more about sort of how Reiki works and kind of all the other bits and pieces that I've been talking about as well. And
Yeah.
that's at rebalance underscore with underscore Reiki.
I'll put the everything as well
Thank you.
below, just so that's easier for people to grab. And yeah, thank you for talking today. It's been really nice
Oh,
to feel there's a lot of alignment with the cyclicalness and
yeah.
the energetic authenticity. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.